Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video, and Merry Christmas to you and yours if you do celebrate, and again if you don't, just enjoy that time off. So what I'm going to go over here is my top 5 games of 2023. Yes, this is my definitive list here for sure. We'll go over those stipulations and rules in just a moment, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I was saying, what we're going to go over is my top 5 games of the year for 2023. Now, quick stipulation and rules to get out of the way here. That said, I'm only going to go over the games that I personally played and to completion. So that's a big thing there. So there's a lot of games that aren't going to make the list because I didn't have time to even get to them. So I don't think it's fair just to go off of others reviews and stuff like that and then just kind of fit it in there, even though I think I would probably like it and probably place it in this list at some point. Just a heads up, that's why they aren't in there. So if you see some favorites, I'll give a quick nod to those, of course, what should be. So let's start off strong here. Let's start off with number 5. Now, you guys might think this is a little odd, but for me, it makes perfect sense. I'm a huge fan of the series. Now, we're talking about Final Fantasy Theatrhythm. Now, this game was available in different iterations on the DS, Nintendo DS, and all that stuff, right? And throughout all their handhelds, as well as available on the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is also finally available for the PlayStation 4 and works, of course, with the PlayStation 5 via backwards compatibility. This game is amazing. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, this game is super fun. This is super nostalgic. You have every single, well, at least a lot of the main hits of the Final Fantasy series throughout its entirety. So if you grew up playing any of these, then of course, you're going to have a blast. The notes, the music, it's snappy, it's quick, it hits. There's lots of amazing trophies. I thoroughly enjoyed getting the platinum for this game on top of that. But it was just great to revisit a lot of those soundtracks that I kind of forgot with some of those games, right? That's what was really awesome as well. So that being said, I think it just really deserves a spot on this list, guys. If you're a big Final Fantasy fan, then this just speaks volumes. You got stuff from Chocobo's Dungeon, Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy Dissidia. All the series are pretty much there. And then you, of course, have some DLC if you want to dive in from stuff from like Secret of Mana, Legend of Mana, Xenogears, for crying out loud. So just some great tracks on this, and I highly recommend if you are into rhythm games, which is real similar to Rock Band and stuff, but this is all done with your controller. But deserving of that number 5 spot. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 being a great series. Always has been, in my opinion, for the most part, even with the hiccups it's had. But we're talking about Diablo 4. Now, Diablo 4 is amazing in its own right due to the fact they just kind of do better and better, not only graphically, but mechanically as well. Aside from the snafu of number 3 with the auction house and all that jazz, took forever for it to come over to console out of PC, which whatever. I mean, we just got finally Diablo 2 to consoles after how long, so at least we're making progress where, consoles nowadays are becoming synonymous with that stuff. So, with the PC ports and remakes and whatever. But the game is just so great, again, graphically, class-wise, the fact that you can really fine-tune your classes. The story, I think, was the weakest part, personally. But at this point in time, it's not on the level of Kingdom Hearts-esque as far as how convoluted it is, but it is certainly getting there, especially if you're a newcomer. Good luck trying to figure out exactly what's going on without deep diving into lore and stuff. But that said, that was the weakest aspect, but it was still just a phenomenal dungeon crawler, great to have with your friends. You have an overworld map that you get to see other people playing, take down world bosses, lots of great loot, lots of great changes in the seasons it does, so it doesn't necessarily get old if that is your cup of tea. I thought it was very enjoyable and just a welcome addition to the Diablo franchise as a whole, and really deserving of that number 4 spots. And I can't say much more about it. It's Diablo, just better, right? Awesome. So that said, let's move on to number 3. Wow. Number 3. Another game in the series that I have grown up with and truly adore and love. That being said, we are looking at Final Fantasy 16. Now, this is another PlayStation console exclusive for the time being until it makes its way eventually to PC. This game, again, is really, truly amazing. I played the demo before the game was even released. That sold me as it was. Very Games of Thrones-esque. Now, I will say I am a little surprised. Again, the story was great, but it also had hints of what happened to Final Fantasy 15. I do think the game needed to bake just a tad more, if I'm being nitpicky. There were some pacing issues and some time jumps that were kind of, jarring, I would say, really. That I was like, wait, what? We're doing what now? And it took a minute for me to realize this and just kind of settle my brain and what I thought would happen next. So again, nitpicking aside, that's the main thing. But this is very beginner Final Fantasy friendly as far as like, hey, again, another new entry, lots of difficulty levels to choose from to make it so if you're brand new to it or if it's just difficult to you on normal, there's a lot of easy and beginner modes. And if you want to be hardcore, you have those settings. And then you, of course, have an incredible setting with the New Game Plus that just changes it completely up for you. But the gameplay mechanics as a whole is what's amazing. It was from the director, I believe the director from Devil May Cry 5 for the combat system there, and he transferred this over, stated multiple times this is his magnus opus in regards to combat mechanics and such. So you can totally see that. You can see that he poured every ounce of talent that he had in this game, and just truly amazing from beginning to end. Couple little twists there, not to spoil too much. But, the Bahamut fight was one of the greatest boss fights I've ever played in any game ever. It was just so... It reminded me of a cross between, just super fantasy-wise, mixed with... This isn't a bad thing, because I love Digimon. With a cross of, Digimon, if you play this, you kind of maybe understand what I'm talking about with some fusion stuff. Or combination of evolving and stuff like that. But it's so good. I mean, the voice acting was super on par, if not just truly amazing. I mean, Ben Starr and the rest of the cast did a fantastic job bringing these characters to life and making you feel every ounce of, happiness, sorrow, complexity that they did bring to the table. So just truly an amazing game. Very, very worth that number 3 spot. Just a title that can't be missed, right? So that said, let's move on to number 2. Now we're going to get a little more controversial here because I think everybody and their dog feels this game should be just number 1 hands down throughout the entirety of the year. And you're not necessarily wrong, but for myself and some others, I will explain why. Number 2 being Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, is this game a 10 out of 10? Absolutely. Does it hit every mark and hit a home run with it? Absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed myself with Divinity 2. I'm a big tactical type of game player myself. I really didn't have a lot to complain about when it comes to Baldur's Gate 3. It really is a phenomenal ride. The characters, the cast, the voice casting, everybody just did a great job. The amount of openness that you can tackle the missions and story with in your classes, and you can spend an hour and a half or more on just your character customization because there's so much that you can take into account and how that play style will be. I can go on and on about how amazing this game is. Now, why did this hit the number 2 spot, though? Because for me, there's one game that just does better, for me personally. And I'll explain that as well. And then, everybody just takes into account, as amazing as this game is, and as flawless as this game is, it's not for everybody, right? CRTGs are not for everybody. These types of games may not be fast enough for everybody. This may not be just their cup of tea or their jam. They could probably, respect it for what it is, but for some reason they're like, I know a lot of people, more famous to the less famous that, just couldn't quite get into it. And I totally understand all aspects of it. Those that praise it to the moon and those that are like, I tried my best. It just ain't for me. It wouldn't even make my top 10, right? That's the different taste that we all have as gamers, and that's why we all have different lists as a whole. But again, that being said, that's why it hit my number 2 spot. But what an amazing game, really. I mean, you can sit there, put it away for after you put hundreds of hours into it, revisit it a couple years from now, if not more, and just have a new, fresh experience with it. I can't say anything negative about it other than sometimes you just want a game that you can bust out 20 to 40 hours and call it good and feel like you accomplished and move on and not have your backlog suffer, right? So that's my biggest nitpick of the games like this. And it's not just that. I can say the same thing about Witcher 3. I still haven't beat Witcher 3. I keep restarting because every time I try to start, I have to restart from the beginning because I don't know what I'm doing, where I'm at, all that stuff. There's a lot to it. And you get those bigger games and it's like you either invest in that time sink or you don't. Many choices, right? But what an amazing game. Definitely deserving of number 2 and controversially should just be number 1. But again, for me, we'll go over that. Now, taking up that number 1 spot, and if you know me, you probably know what this is going to be. Yes, Spider-Man 2. Now, there's a lot more naysayers when it comes to how amazing Spider-Man 2 is out there. Because A, they think that if you're over a certain age, you can't enjoy comic book games. You can't enjoy comic book movies. You can't enjoy comic books in general, superheroes in general. You know, they can go stick it where the sun don't shine, right? In my opinion, this game is, and everybody just praised Batman Arkham City, right? On how amazing that was. That held the crown. Finally, Spider-Man 2 did take that crown in every foreseeable way because, we're not looking at the night gritty stuff that Batman does have and that works and that's amazing, but Spider-Man's not that. It's not going to copy it to the T, right? The combat can be very similar when it comes to the dodging, spider sense, the Batman dodging sense, all that stuff. But this game just capitalizes on what number 1 brought to the table. It expanded it. We have more players in the system now as far as Spider-Man Miles Morales. Mary Jane's more fun to play around with. Although comically she's the most OP'd character in the game, it's kind of funny. But at the same time, the story is truly great. What they're setting up for the next installment is going to be great. What they're setting up for the universe, the Marvel universe, or the Insomniac Marvel universe, is going to be absolutely staggering. People complain and say they didn't change enough up. They played it too safe. They totally didn't. Open spaces, the boss fights were amazing. The side missions were amazing. They had completions from the first one that got brought over that would bring a tear to your eye. They brought in the web wings. They brought in different gameplay mechanics, supers, abilities. Miles is still discovering more abilities that he's coming across. Peter comes across new abilities in his journey and what happens here. And the fact that you are going against, your best friend here, that speaks volumes as well. People wanted the old school storytelling. Some of you did. I understand. I grew up with that old school storytelling, but I'm also open-minded, and this works for that universe. And that's what we have to understand is this is Insomniac's universe. This isn't Marvel's Earth whatever, universe whatever that they've created and they're changing that universe. No, they're doing their own universe. That's how you can get away with doing this stuff. And if they do it right and correctly, man, they can hit a home run, and I can play these all day. I could not put the controller down. Yes, I platinumed it. Yes, this game has one of the highest platinum and story completion rates out there to this day in regards to an actual Sony AAA first-party game. What are you going to do? That speaks volumes alone. You know what I mean? Again, that sweet spot of 20 to 40 hours you feel you can invest in. Again, I couldn't put it down. Myself and my kid, we could not put it down. He finished it right before me, probably a day and a half before I did, because obviously I have a full-time job and stuff. But, it's truly just an amazing game. I can't speak highly enough of this. I mean, I was elated when I got done with this game. I was truly floored at how great it was. And then you get those, when you play that great game, and you finish it and you're just done and you don't know what to do. And you try to go to another game immediately after or a few hours after, and you just sit there like, oh. Even though the other game's really great, you sit there going, man, I'm not getting the same feeling. What's wrong? So that's what's crazy. So again, testaments, this is the best superhero game of all time. To this point in time. And if another one takes that crown eventually, hats off to them. I'm down to play those. I love those. I enjoyed the crap out of Arkham City. Arkham Knight was a big letdown. I enjoyed Asylum a lot. I've even enjoyed Arkham Origins or whatever a lot more than I did Arkham Knight. Not going to go into a thread of this of me not liking Arkham Knight and what I had issues with there, but this again just takes the crown. This is so deserving of the #1 spot. If it wasn't more of a political thing, I think Spider-Man 2 would take the #1 spot in a lot of ways and for a lot of reasons. But a lot of people like to come down hard on it because it is a superhero game and they want to make excuses. And then when you are an exclusive, you're going to have the different fan bases that aren't able to get their hands on it day one or don't want to because they don't want to buy into that ecosystem. They're going to create all this controversy and gaslight stuff. So I don't let that gaslighting affect me. I know what I played. I know what I experienced. And this is so deserving of the #1 spot. I can't gloat about it enough as far as how I felt when playing this game to completion. And I enjoyed every moment of it. There wasn't one section where I was like, I don't like this. They cleaned it all up, guys. I enjoyed it. The only part I could say is if I would want to hurry through, because the first experience was amazing, but if I, replaying it again, the slowness, and I understand why, obviously, but the slowness of going through, and I'm not going to spoil too much here, but going through Coney Island, it's a lot of character building and going through some stuff there, which is really fun and great. But again, experiencing that twice, like, okay, let's just get to this next set piece because I know what's going to happen, and this is very slow considering. But for the first time, 10 out of 10, right? I already have the review on there. Go check it out if you haven't already. But I will wrap it up here. Those are my top 5 games of 2023. Everybody's going to have different lists and tastes. So definitely let me know down in the comments below what your top 5 games, or even top 3, whatever you want to give, of 2023. Would love to hear from you. I know there's some great ones. Like I said, a quick nod to, I'm sure Alan Wake 2 was amazing. And every other game that I did not get to this year was truly amazing, I'm sure. So the God of War Valhalla DLC, which isn't a brand new game, but so amazing, right? So tons of stuff that we thoroughly enjoyed. Obviously, I didn't get to Tears of the Kingdom or anything like that. I didn't get to Super Mario RPG remake or remaster. I didn't get to a lot of games, right? That's life. I just don't have time. It's crazy. So that being said, I appreciate you guys hanging around. If you haven't already, definitely consider leaving a like as well. Helps out the algorithm tremendously. And of course, leaving yourself open to possibly subscribing, helping out a small content creator like myself if you enjoy what you see. Much appreciated. At this point in time, 869 subscribers out of that 1,000 subscriber goal. I can, I'm sorry, not 869, 889. I'm sorry, 889. I just don't believe it. I think about the numbers, I look at the numbers, I'm like, that can't be right. You guys are truly an amazing community. Thank you so much for supporting me. And like I said, I can totally see this 1,000 goal much sooner than later. So thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, folks. I hope you have a good one. And we will see you next time on the next Xvault Gaming video. And until then, take care.